That Tuesday morning started like any other at the Providence Municipal Court. A typical crowd, the familiar cadence of cases, and Judge Frank Caprio presiding with his signature warmth and wit. Yet the moment he called the next case, the air seemed to shift, as if the room itself sensed what was about to unfold. A man stepped forward, composed yet confident, gave his name for the record, and instantly the energy in the courtroom changed entirely. The ever-collected Judge Caprio froze. His pen halted mid-note, and silence swept through the room so complete it seemed even the fluorescent hum was silenced. What followed would leave a lasting mark on everyone present, proving that some debts, especially those tied to humanity and kindness, can never truly be repaid. Welcome to Human Stories. Before we journey into this remarkable story of gratitude, fate, and unforeseen connection, pause for a moment. Have you ever had someone recognize your family name and share a tale that changed your perspective? Share your thoughts below and hit subscribe, because stories like this deserve to endure. For over 30 years, Judge Frank Caprio, the cherished face of Providence justice, had witnessed every shade of human behavior, from compassion to carelessness, from remorse to redemption. But that one March morning, something far deeper than any record unfolded before him. The docket was full, as always. Traffic tickets, parking violations, minor infractions, the daily humdrum of municipal life. With his trademark humor and empathy, the judge waived fines for an elderly woman struggling to pay and granted a second chance to a young driver who'd merely made a mistake. Then came Case 47, seemingly just another speeding ticket 15 miles over the limit on Route 95. The defendant, a man in his early 50s, wearing a crisp shirt and dark trousers, approached the bench calmly, exuding the quiet resilience of someone who had faced far tougher challenges. "State your name for the record," said Judge Caprio, eyes still on his files. "Michael Anthony Torino, Your Honor." The words hung longer than expected. Caprio's pen stilled. His head lifted slowly, locking gaze on the man before him. The name lingered like a ghost from the past. Recognition flickered in his eyes, followed by disbelief and something far more personal. The courtroom felt it instantly. Even his longtime assistant, Maria, who had seen him preside over thousands of cases, noticed the sudden shift. "Torino," the judge whispered softly, almost to himself. "Michael Torino." The defendant appeared puzzled but respectful. "Yes, Your Honor." "That's correct." Caprio set his pen aside, his weathered hands trembling slightly as emotion surfaced beneath his composed exterior. "Son," he began gently. "Forgive an old judge for asking something personal. What was your father's name?" Michael straightened, curiosity sparked. "Anthony Torino, Your Honor." "He passed away 12 years ago." The transformation in the judge was immediate. His expression softened. Color drained from his face, and for a fleeting moment, this man who had spent decades commanding a courtroom seemed profoundly vulnerable. The stenographer paused. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. "Anthony Torino," Caprio murmured, voice thick with memory. "Big Tony, construction worker. Hands like stone, laugh like thunder." Michael's eyes widened. "You knew my dad?" What happened next became legend in the Providence legal community. The judge slowly rose, a rare gesture during hearings, his voice heavy with reverence. "Son, your father saved my life." The courtroom fell into absolute silence. No papers shuffled. No whispers lingered. Judge Caprio stepped down from his bench, crossing the courtroom floor, a virtually unheard of act in his court as all formalities faded away. "It was 1987, he began, voice steady but emotional. "I was a young attorney, not yet a judge, representing a laborer injured in a construction accident downtown. Your father was the foreman. Big Tony, they called him. He was supposed to testify, but I could tell he was uneasy. Back then, many of the old Italian men from Federal Hill didn't trust lawyers, didn't believe much in the system. But your father, Tony, was different." Judge Caprio paused mid-sentence, gaze distant, lost in memory, as if the years had peeled away. "It was the night before the trial," he began softly, voice thick with nostalgia. "I had been working late, around 10 o'clock, leaving my office near the old courthouse on Doran Street. You remember that lot behind it? Dark, empty, the kind of darkness that makes you listen to your own footsteps." Michael nodded slowly, each word sinking in like a revelation. "That's when I saw them, 3 men, coming straight toward me. I could smell the alcohol before they even spoke. I could see it in their eyes, anger, and something far worse. They knew who I was. They knew I was representing that injured worker they didn't want to get justice. They told me to drop the case. They didn't ask politely, son, they demanded. His voice lowered, yet every syllable struck sharper than before. When I refused, things escalated quickly. The room was utterly still, so quiet that even the soft hum of the courthouse furnace seemed deafening. Next thing I knew, I was on the ground. One of them had a metal pipe raised above me. I honestly believed that was the end, that I was going to die in that cold parking lot just for trying to help a man get what he deserved. Michael's fists clenched unconsciously, his breath tight in his chest. Then the judge's tone brightened, alive with awe. And out of nowhere, this booming voice crashed through the night, thick, rough, unmistakably Federal Hill. Hey, you pieces of trash. Step away from him. Caprio smiled through the memory, eyes glistening. Your father appeared like a guardian angel, 6 feet 2 inches, maybe 240 pounds, pure strength forged from years of hard labor. Those men took one look at Big Tony and fled. They didn't just leave. They ran like the devil was chasing them. He helped me to my feet, brushed me off, and asked if I was all right. The judge's tone softened. When I thanked him, he simply shrugged and said, nobody should get hurt for doing the right thing, counselor. You go win that case tomorrow. Then he turned and walked away as if it were nothing. Caprio paused, wiping his eyes without shame, unconcerned that the entire courtroom was watching. And I did win that case. Michael, the injured worker, received every cent he was owed. His family kept their home. His children stayed in school. And it was all because your father gave me the courage to keep fighting for justice. The courtroom air grew heavy with emotion. People blinked back tears, silence held them like a spell. But that wasn't the end, Caprio continued, voice trembling with warmth. A week later, Tony came to my office. Didn't seek praise. Didn't want his name in the papers. He only wanted to make sure I was all right. We spoke for 2 hours that afternoon. He told me about his family, about you. You were just a teenager then. He was so proud of you, son. So incredibly proud. Michael swallowed hard before whispering, he never told me this story. The judge smiled softly. That was your father. He didn't do good things to be admired. He did them because they were right. But you know what he did tell me? He said he hoped that one day, when you grew up, you'd understand what it meant to stand up for those who couldn't stand up for themselves. He said he was raising you to be better than him. And I told him that would be impossible because I'd never met a better man. The judge drew a deep breath, glancing at his own trembling hands. I tried to find him years later, after I became a judge. I wanted to thank him properly, maybe do something special for your family, but by then he had moved away. I lost track and I've regretted that ever since. Michael's voice cracked softly. Your Honor, my father always told me that helping others was worth more than money or fame. I just wish I'd known about this. Judge Caprio, now visibly moved, returned to his bench. His entire demeanor shifted. This was no longer a judge addressing a traffic violation. This was one man paying tribute to another's legacy, a legacy of courage, humility, and quiet goodness that time could never erase. Michael Anthony Torino, Judge Caprio began formally, his voice steady yet charged with emotion. You stand before this court today accused of a speeding violation. 50 miles per hour over the limit on Route 95. Yes, Your Honor, Michael replied softly. The judge leaned forward slightly, eyes kind but focused. Son, You need to understand something very clearly, he said, pausing as the weight of his next words hung in the air. The debt I owe your family is one that can never truly be repaid. Your father didn't just save my life that night. He saved my entire career, my ability to serve this community, to uphold justice for over 30 years. Every ruling I've made, every person I've helped, every act of fairness I've delivered, all of it traces back to the courage of Big Tony Torino. The judge lifted his gavel, but instead of striking it, he held it still, lost in reflection. Some might say justice should be blind to personal connections, he continued thoughtfully. But your father taught me something far more powerful, that sometimes real justice means choosing compassion over the rigidity of the law. He looked directly at Michael, tone both firm and warm. Case dismissed, he said with quiet finality. The fine is cancelled, the points removed, and the charge is cleared from your record. Michael blinked in disbelief, confusion evident. The judge smiled faintly. And before you misunderstand, I'm not dismissing this case because of what your father once did for me, he added, voice soft but certain. I'm doing it because of who you've become since then. Michael's brow furrowed, still uncertain, until the judge explained, my staff ran a standard background check while we spoke. Care to tell the court what you do for a living, Mr. Torino? Michael looked down modestly. I'm a paramedic, Your Honor. Providence Emergency Medical Services. Judge Caprio's face lit with genuine admiration. 22 years of service, he announced proudly. 17 commendations, 3 life-saving awards, and 43 lives personally saved while on duty. A ripple of applause spread through the courtroom, people clapping despite protocol, overcome with emotion. Michael looked stunned, humbled to his core. You see, son, the judge said, voice trembling with warmth, your father was right. He raised you to be greater than he was. And though I thought that impossible, you've proven me wrong. You've spent your life protecting those who couldn't protect themselves exactly as he once did. Slowly, Judge Caprio rose from his seat one final time. Big Tony Torino saved one life 37 years ago. Mine. And his son has gone on to save 43 more. I'd say the debt has been repaid with interest. The impact of his words rippled through the room. Even the most stoic officers were visibly moved. Defendants waiting for their cases, court clerks, spectators, every single person knew they were witnessing something extraordinary. Mr. Torino, Caprio said, tone gentle but resolute. Drive safely. Your father would be proud, and the city still needs you out there doing what you do best. As Michael turned to leave, the judge called out once more, Michael, thank you for everything your family has given to this community. That moment became legend in Providence. The story spread quickly, from courthouse whispers to local news, and eventually across the internet, capturing hearts worldwide. It wasn't just a case dismissal. It was a living reminder of gratitude, service, and the infinite reach of kindness. Judge Frank Caprio, long admired for his compassion and fairness, once again reminded everyone why he was more than just a man of the law. He was a symbol of humanity at its best. Today, Michael Torino still serves as a paramedic in Providence, driving down Route 95 each morning. And every time he passes that courthouse, he remembers his father, the man who saved a young attorney decades ago, and the judge whose life was forever changed by that act of bravery. In Judge Caprio's chambers now sits a small framed photograph, an old construction site snapshot from 1987, given to him by Michael. It shows Big Tony Torino, strong and smiling among his crew, the same grin his son carries. Beneath it, a quote reads, sometimes the greatest debts aren't financial, they're personal. And sometimes justice isn't about laws. It's about love, legacy, and the courage to do what's right even when no one is watching. This story touched your heart. Share it. Remind the world that true heroism doesn't always wear a uniform or carry a badge. Sometimes it shows up quietly in a parking lot at 10 o'clock at night, refusing to let darkness win. Tell us, what would you do if you met someone whose family once changed your life? Leave a comment and don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that restore faith in humanity.